Somewhere, tucked away within the Eastern Alliance, stands a magnificent structure, the prestigious Polestar Academy, where students of various dispositions busy themselves with their day-to-day activities. Some are lost in their own little worlds, simply biding their time, while others buzz with excitement and speculation, as today marks a significant event, the contract day, and rumor has it that an executor from the notorious Apocalypse Court will be overseeing the proceedings. The very thought sends ripples of awe and anxiety through the crowd. For an institution as revered as Polestar, and for the Eastern Alliance at large, the appearance of a member from the Apocalypse Court is no trivial matter. And this rumor is too good to be true, because even the high and mighty of the Polestar Academy and the whole Eastern Alliance consider it a massive deal when the Apocalypse Court steps in, and so not everyone's buying into the hype, but one guy in particular is swearing on their sources. He is saying this info came straight from overhearing whispers outside the principal's office, and the guy was confident since he wasn't alone when this happened as he was with Chen Feng, which Chen backed it up, and not only he had heard it, but he says that he had seen the member himself, and that she's decked out in all black no less. And as if on cue, the mysterious figure in question makes a timely entrance into the courtyard.
I was like, damn, double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon, hella ass.
And it seems like the artist is a man of culture as well. Even the students were all smile when they saw her, but they were more excited to see that she was indeed a member of the Apocalypse Court, as it could be seen that she is wearing their emblem. Meanwhile, Chen Feng remained relatively detached from the surrounding excitement, and therefore found himself wondering about the reason why the Eastern Alliance, known for its mystery and authority in the beast-taming realm, would send a representative to their modest Polestar Academy for the contract day ceremony. And the only logical explanation he could think of was that something significant might be about to happen. However, despite the potential importance of the event, Chen couldn't find it within himself to be interested. This lack of interest wasn't due to apathy or laziness. Rather, it stemmed from his unique position as a newcomer to this world. He was actually a transmigrator, and having isekai'd from another realm just a year ago, he lacked the innate talents and abilities that seemed almost commonplace in this new world, and he didn't even have access to any mystical system like those he had read about in the comics of his previous life. Nonetheless, Chen wasn't overly concerned about his safety, or the possibility of encountering monsters. The city was well protected by the Imperial Wall, a massive structure that had successfully repelled external threats for 300 years. Coupled with the renowned strength of the Eastern Alliance, this provided a significant layer of security, so that's that going for him. With these thoughts, he was convinced the least he could do is to just have to live a silent, normal life where he can afford a living, and to do that, he just needed to form a contract with a pet beast, even if it is just a normal or lower grade one, and his confidence was this low. As the higher one's spirit power rating, the more likely they could contract higher-tiered beasts. And unfortunately for Chen Feng, his rating was barely at a D level, severely limiting his options, and breaks all his hopes of a lavish and easy life, or even the things like changing the world, becoming king, and composing legendary epics where the protagonist of the novels he read were known of. On the bright side, Chen's less ambitious path promised less hassle, and the possibility of an early relaxing retirement, and he wouldn't even have to wait long to see how the day unfolded. As the ceremony was about to begin, since a staff member abruptly entered the room, and with a talking bird that announced the need to gather at the sports field immediately. And in no time at all, the schoolyard filled with students, each eager and anxious. Still, the field was an impressive sight, as massive pet beasts, each accompanied by armed guards that towered over the crowd, and a colorful array of pet beast eggs varying in size and hue, was meticulously arranged on a platform, ready to meet their new masters. And in the midst of this bustling scene, the representative from the Apocalypse Court was just standing there, menacingly. But everyone seems to not pay her any attention, as the students were largely preoccupied with thoughts of the divine beasts they hoped to claim. Some managed their expectations, while others, like the top spirit rating student Li Yang, aimed high, hoping to secure a contract with a high-tier beast, while Chen Feng had set his expectations low, attempting to shield himself from potential disappointment. But it seems like the Apocalypse member had noticed their low morale, and so she used her spirit beast to fire things up, unleashing a phoenix-like blaze that instantly hyped the students up, making them feel more powerful and lively. This was undoubtedly a type of spiritual protection blessing, ensuring they could establish a more stable connection when contracting a beast. It was exactly the kind of formidable ability one would expect from a senior sister of the Apocalypse Court. With the students now uplifted, she seized the opportunity to encourage them further, giving a speech about the importance of their choices and efforts in determining the strength of their bond with their new beasts. With that said, the contract ceremony began. Chen felt immense pressure that he had been suppressing for a while. Even though he had set his expectations low, He still hoped to get at least a decent spirit beast and not be a laughingstock, especially since he was the last one in the queue. The first student in line, the highest-ranking spirit in the class, decided to sit cross-legged on the platform, trying his best to get as close to the egg as possible in hopes of forming a strong connection. Even if this method wasn't scientifically proven, his effort paid off. He successfully connected with a spirit beast, and the egg quickly broke open, revealing it to be a fierce grade falcon beast. This both surprised and made the others envious. However, it wasn't entirely unexpected, given his high spirit rank. And Li Yang, the student in question, didn't care what others were thinking, as he was just happy to have a beast that met his expectations. And with Li Yang's success, the ceremony continued. After a few moments, every student had already obtained a pet, except for Chen, and there were only a limited number of beasts left. 2 ferocious beasts, 15 fierce beasts, and an unknown number of lower beasts. This was nerve-wracking for Chen because he knew he was most likely to end up with a common beast, or lower, but not knowing how many were left made him hesitate. And his hesitation irritated the Apocalypse member, who shouted at him to hurry up and stop wasting her precious time. With no other choice, Chen stepped forward and did as he was told. However, a few minutes passed and nothing happened. There wasn't even a slight connection with any of the beasts, and so Chen decided to inform the senior about the bad news, that he hadn't sensed a suitable beast. This surprised her, as she hadn't expected to witness someone with such weak spirit power, but she wasn't willing to let a student fail without trying everything. So she told him to come closer and try touching the eggs directly, and his pride took a hit on this one. But he couldn't complain, as it was his only remaining option. With everyone's attention on him, Chen moved closer to the eggs. As he did, a peculiar egg caught his eye. It shone with a faint glow, and though it looked small and unremarkable, something in his gut told him to touch this egg first. Little did he know, this was all because of the member of the Apocalypse Court. She's a real one for doing this. She actually went out of her way to use her power discreetly to help Chen Feng secure a contract with a beast, despite his low power. And the glow he sees is the spirit connection that he's most compatible with. But even as he approached, his power was insufficient to break the egg, which made her sigh, as it seemed like she would have to assist him to the very end. And so she exerted more power to forcefully open the egg, and since this was unnatural, it caused a powerful ripple effect that left every student in shock and confusion. Chen Feng himself was convinced this might be the moment he'd been waiting for, the pivotal event he believed destined for a protagonist. The opening of the egg was grand, exuding a powerful aura, which heightened everyone's anticipation of the pet beast's rarity. But they didn't have to wait long as the creature finally emerged, and it revealed to be a very cute turtle. However, looks can be deceiving, so they waited for the Apocalypse member to announce its rank. To their surprise, it turned out to be merely an ornamental-grade pet. The grand entrance for such a low-class pet struck everyone as humorous, leaving even Chen Feng too stunned to say anything. But the Apocalypse member's time was precious. She couldn't waste it on just anyone. She had helped Chen Feng enough, so she got straight to the point and asked about his pet's skill. Chen Feng hesitated but decided to answer honestly, reporting that his pet beast had only one skill, and that was defense. This surprised her because even an ornamental-grade pet should have at least 2 skills to be considered reasonable. It seemed like Chen Feng had contracted with the worst of the worst. But it was cute though. Still, cuteness alone doesn't suffice in this world, and ornamental beasts have limited strength. Even with its defensive capability, Chen Feng doubted if it could withstand a punch from a little girl. He even felt like a chicken trained for 2 years would be more powerful than his turtle. And this realization made him cry, and as expected, bullies took the opportunity to mock him. They told him that seeing him being so useless was more satisfying than contracting an advanced beast themselves. Despite their mocking, they weren't entirely heartless. After their banter, they advised him to look on the bright side. His pet's defensive skill could be a huge help for his well-being, because pain is shared between the pet and the owner. And not just pain, they can even share pleasure as well, which was the first time Chen Feng had heard about such a thing, and it showed on his face. And so they asked him to see his little turtle to demonstrate what they meant.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
That sounded a little sus, but Chen Feng agreed, and the guys petted the adorable turtle, and thus the tale of the useless pet beast and its equally useless owner came to light. And as they were getting all comfortable, the Apocalypse member commanded them to pipe down and demand all their attention to her, which they did what they were told. And so she then proceeded to congratulate them on graduating. But they don't have time to celebrate now, because starting today, they will enter the Northern Combat Zone of the Union for combat training. And on behalf of the Apocalypse Court, she wished them good luck and urged them to come back alive. But even with this reassurance, the students were in disarray, as they had heard that this year's combat training would be held in the most dangerous place in the Union's territory, the Northern Combat Zone. It was filled with fierce and ferocious beasts, and with winter approaching, conditions would be even more challenging, and Chen Feng was definitely the most worried of the bunch.
I'm in danger!
Knowing that with his current pet, he was bound to get clapped by monsters, and seeing their faces amused the Apocalypse member, but she made sure to reassure them not to worry too much, explaining that the exercise isn't a death sentence. It is just a challenge with a certain level of danger. They wouldn't be sent to the front lines to fight the monsters. However, if anyone wanted to desert before the battle, they should step forward, leave their contracted beast behind, and go home to drink their milk from sippy cups, as cowards were not needed in their ranks. And no one felt more pressured by these words than Chen Feng, and his anxiety was justified, because every year, after deep winter, the monsters in the Northern Combat Zone entered a frenzied state for 1 or 2 months, forming a tide of beasts that invaded the walls. With the strength of his contracted beast, it would mean certain death. And he's not willing to die just yet, especially when he doesn't even know why he was just transmigrated here so suddenly. And so he was shaken and about to back down from joining the combat training. Luckily, the system came into clutch, appearing before him as it recognized that he had fully contracted a spirit beast, prompting for the system to be fully functional, revealing his stat window and granting him 6 unallocated stat points. Additionally, he could now see basic information about other tamers, most notably the Apocalypse member, who had a level 50 ferocious grade fire phoenix. And even without the ability to see its attributes and skills just yet, Chen Feng knew it was incredibly powerful. And as if he was in a moment of post-nut clarity, Chen Feng's previously empty eyes lit up with hope. He was convinced that even with the weakest pet, they could grow stronger with the system's help. Though it was known that upgrading a pet's skills took time, they could bypass some of this by feeding the pet monster materials. And the upcoming combat training presented an opportunity to gather such materials and improve. However, Chen Feng knew not to get ahead of himself and decided to allocate all his free points to defense, aiming to survive as long as possible. And suddenly, a large spirit bird appeared, flying above them before landing right in front. It seemed to be their ride to the Northern Combat Zone. With that, they all boarded and prepared for the journey ahead. A few moments later, they arrived at the Northern Combat Zone, where vast, snow-covered lands stretched out for miles and snowflakes fell continuously. The bird carrying Chen Feng and the others was now resting inside the Imperial camp. It seemed everyone had arrived safely, but the temperatures here were much colder than in the city. The students felt the chill while the Imperial Army soldiers was still rocking the shirtless drip in this kind of temperature. But the teacher couldn't allow them to show weakness in front of the elites and tarnish their school's name, so he demanded they gather around. Once they complied, he greeted General Shu and entrusted the patrolling duties of the students to the general's arrangements. Hearing this, Chen Feng felt a sigh of relief, since patrolling was more about broadening their horizons rather than being cannon fodder for the monsters like how they initially expected. But so suddenly, this was about to change as a number of students' names were called out, and Chen Feng was one of them, catching everyone off guard. So it seems like they would be patrolling the land in small groups of 4 students and 1 official, a smaller number than they had hoped for. While others were focused on this unexpected turn, some students, particularly the simps, were more concerned that Chen Feng, the weakling, was grouped with Belle Su, the so-called goddess of their school. This made them both jealous and angry, believing he would only drag their goddess down. The odds were really stacking on Chen Feng lately. He couldn't catch a break for even a damn minute. But despite this, he pressed on with his new group, joining Captain Yu Ying, who was in charge of them for the time being. And he had a level 35 fierce beast with him and seemed to have a straightforward nature, as he skipped petty talk and directly told them their task during patrol. And that is not to let any monsters cross the wall, even if it cost them their lives. And he emphasized that if any of them engaged in infighting for personal reasons, especially over a woman, he would personally throw them outside the wall to feed the monsters. And he could make sure that this was not a threat, but a promise. And Chen Feng knew Captain Yu Ying meant every word of it, as he could see the status of his pet. And this realization was evident on Chen Feng's face, which Sunia noticed, but she didn't think anything bad about it, as she assumed he was just a little nervous. And so she decided to break the tension by introducing herself, as well as aiming to familiarize the group with each other since they would now be a team. And Chen Feng appreciates this kind gesture and returned the vibe to her. But it seems like other dudes don't like this sudden friendship at all. They were all thinking the same damn thing.
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
A few moments later, as the deep night was illuminated by moonlight, the group began their patrol along with other groups. As they walked, Captain Yu Wing explained the importance of patrolling. He emphasized that it was a crucial part of guarding the wall of the Imperial Army. They needed to sharpen their senses to notice anomalies in the silence and find traces of monsters near the tall wall. However, some students contested this, arguing that it seemed easy since the area outside was so spacious and empty that any monster movements would be easily spotted. Their inexperience was evident in this reasoning, so Captain Yu Ying clarified that the monsters were very adept at hiding, especially during the continuous snowstorms of the northern combat zone, which would severely obstruct their vision. This mindset would undoubtedly lead to oversight. His explanation made them quickly retract their statements and fall silent. With that cleared up, Captain Yu Ying continued, advising them to stay vigilant, especially at night. As if on cue, Captain Yu Ying noticed something was off behind them. Prompted to turn around, he immediately recognized the situation. Despite the snow quickly covering the monster's footprints, its distinctive scent lingered long enough that even the snow couldn't mask it. This was something every student needed to be most wary of. The students were confused as to why he was looking at an empty space, but with the help of his system, Chen Feng's eyes widened as he saw the system status of a monster pop up. The monster was so well hidden that the others had difficulty spotting it. The only one besides Chen Feng to notice it was Sun Yan, who immediately pointed it out. It was a level 5 snow leopard emerging from the snow, and since its cover had been blown, the snow leopard went on the offensive. Meanwhile, Captain Yu Ying remained cool as he was grading the students, and he could say that he was already impressed by Sun Yan's alertness. But still, he wanted this first encounter to be a learning moment for all the students and to assess their capabilities. He would only intervene if necessary, and so he asked which team wanted to demonstrate their skills and earn points. But most of the students were actually bitch-made, freezing up on the spot, and even the top student Li Yang had cold feet. But Sun Yan wasn't like them. She was looking for all the smoke, rushing in with her beast without any hesitation like the monster owed them money. And they are brutal with it, as they easily made the monster to fall back into a defensive stance, which prompted her pet to continue on the offensive. Unfortunately, the snow leopard was more cunning than expected. It feigned an attack, only to then dodged in a split second to create an opening for a direct strike on Sun Yan, catching her off guard and leaving her no time to dodge. Meanwhile, Captain Yu Ying remained calm. From his perspective, everything was happening slowly. He even had time to feel disappointed, as it seemed he had overestimated them. These students truly lacked experience and battle IQ to be struggling like this against a common beast. With this, he was considering intervening to end the test, but to his surprise, the weakest one in the group was the first to react and take action. And he even made a smart move on short notice, taking advantage of the size of his pet by throwing it into the monster's attack path to defend Sun Yan. Even Captain Yu Ying was impressed by this quick thinking, so it seems like he didn't need to intervene for now. And with that, the turtle successfully blocked the snow leopard's advances, completely saving Sun Yan. However, the attack from the level 5 beast was still powerful enough to cause Chen Feng some damage. He was surprised by this, having allocated all his points to defense yet still feeling significant pain. It was clear they were still lacking in strength, but unfortunately, the attack was also enough to knock his pet out, shattering all its defensive buffs. And because they shared the pain, Chen Feng felt the full brunt of the attack, knocking him off his feet and leaving him gasping on the ground. Even Captain Ying was like, "What the fuck?" and retracted his initial impression of him. Meanwhile, Sun Yan was immediately angered about what happened to her teammate, and so she went ahead to attack the snow leopard while it was still recovering from being dazed, delivering a deep cut to its body that made it retreat. But to Sun Yan, this was nothing but personal now. She will not let this monster get away, and so she doubled down on her attacks, but the resilient monster continued to dodge her strikes despite its injuries. Thankfully, her other teammates stepped in to help. They utilized their pet skills to complement each other, using the bird's wind skill to enhance the speed of the flower pet's vines, catching up to the leopard and hindering its movement. With the leopard restrained, Sun Yan's pet delivered the killing blow, easily slicing through the beast. The others were surprised by how strong her beast was, as it only took one swing to tear the leopard apart. However, Sun Yan remained humble, giving credit to the ones who deserve it, and that her pet was attack-oriented. That is all to it. She just did what she's supposed to do, and she couldn't have done it without their help, especially Chen Feng, who had sacrificed his pet to save her from her own carelessness. And given that taking a full hit for an ornamental pet was much worse, they were worried about Chen Feng's well-being, and since Sun Yan felt responsible, she approached him to help him get up, which he was thankful for her assistance, but his body ached with every step, and so he asked her to let him rest for a bit, which made her feel bad and therefore apologized. But Chen Feng insisted she not blame herself. What happened was his own decision, and as the only one in their team with a defensive pet, it was his job to protect them. Unexpectedly, a system notification suddenly popped up in Chen Feng's vision. The next thing he knew, he was inside the system's space, This was triggered by the physical damage he had accumulated, which had progressed to 1/100. Upon meeting this condition, he would receive attribute points to increase his physical defense level and become immune to certain levels of attack effects. Intrigued, he clicked for more details. He discovered that if he completely received physical damage 100 times, he would become immune to 20% of physical damage. Receiving another 1,000 hits would increase this to 30%, and any form of attack would apply this reduction. This was great news. If this were the case, his little turtle could become nearly invincible without leveling up. However, he realized that facing high-level monsters would still be dangerous, even with a 99% reduction, so he still felt the need to increase his base defense, as he knows not to be careless. But as expected, the system did not disappoint. It seems to be quite powerful after all. And with this, he can't help himself but smile. And Sunyan noticed his sudden grin, and assumed there was something on her face. So she asked him about it, but my boy is a menace. Instead of answering, he just took this opportunity to rizz her up, telling her how honored he was to fight alongside a powerful beastmaster like her, which was damn effective. She was even blushing red. But she revealed to him that it wouldn't be that easy. She ain't a fool, pointing out that what he just said was a lie since she knows it herself that she performed poorly, and even his beat-up state was a proof of that. But despite this, the others were jealous of Chen Feng, as it was the first time they had seen Sunyan express such emotion. Meanwhile, Captain Yu Ying approached them with a smile, as he was pleased with their performance. For newcomers who had just contracted with their beasts not long ago, their display was exceptional. To be able to kill a snow leopard in such a short time, whether it was blocking, entangling, or the final counterattack, their ability to synergize was remarkable. That was the role of a team. Any one of them fighting the leopard alone, even Sunyan with her ferocious grade pet beast, wouldn't have easily won the battle, let alone killed it within a minute. Learning to use teamwork, coordination, and cooperation to defeat stronger opponents was crucial for them to study in the coming period. This sounded difficult to the others, but seeing how Sunyan had disposed of the leopard made it seem not that hard, which Captain Yu Ying quickly corrected this notion, emphasizing that it was indeed challenging, because if anyone had made a single mistake, the snow leopard wouldn't have died. But then so suddenly, Captain Ying had felt another presence once again, which made him smile, as this was another opportunity for him to test the students. It is the second challenge given by the wall of the Imperial Army, and so he encourages the students that they better enjoy it as much as they can, which confused the other students as they don't have a clue on what the captain was talking about. But just like before, the more insightful Sunyan had realized what the captain was implying. She remembered reading that low-level monsters often traveled in groups, especially the carnivorous ones. But the snow leopard had charged alone, so it seems like there's a new monster species might be ahead. And using her keen eyesight, Sunyan scanned the area, and just as she had feared, it is a group of new carnivorous monsters ready to attack them in full force. In the previous chapter, in a world where tamers are common, a transmigrator named Chen Feng appeared from another realm. Due to this fact, his spirit power was low, and he barely managed to get a pet, if not for the help of a member of the Apocalypse Corps. Additionally, the pet he received was the lowest of the low. It was an ornamental grade with only one skill, and it was defense. Luckily, after contracting with the beast, an awaited system appeared, providing him with abilities to negate some damage as he sustained a specific amount. With this system and his new crew, Chen Feng successfully defeated their first beast. However, their challenges were far from over, as a pack of monsters soon appeared, presenting them with yet another test. Now on to the next part. The group now faced a pack of wolves, putting them on high alert. The snow leopard had been challenging enough, and now they had to deal with numerous wolves. Meanwhile, Captain Yu Ying felt like this was a good time for a drink instead, as he is on teaching duty right now. So in his mind, it was best to let the students deal with those troublesome monsters while he graded them on the side, and they could be sure that he will enjoy every moment of his free time, as it had been a long while since he had such a break. Nonetheless, as their mentor, he reminded them of the importance of unity and cooperation. But before all of that, they needed to develop the heart of a brave warrior who fears no enemy. However, this was easier said than done, as the other students were frozen in fear and unable to move their feet. To their surprise, the weakest and most injured among them, Chen Feng, was the first to step forward, and Sunyan was notably worried, asking him to come back since his injury hadn't healed yet. But Chen Feng knew he was the only one with a defensive skill in the group. If not him, who could step to the front and tank the damage? Feeling responsible, he bravely moved forward. This display of bravery struck something within Sunyan, making her eyes sparkle and her cheeks turn red, and the others noticed Chen Feng's sudden change in attitude as well. Even Lin Xiaoxiao blushed and praised him, which ultimately shocked her brother, as it was the first time he had ever heard his sister praise anyone. But she didn't even notice her brother's gaze or care for any of that matter, as her eyes locked on Chen Feng, and ultimately she was inspired by him, prompting her to encourage the others to join the fight, as she can't have her man fighting alone on the front lines. Thankfully, her words broke through their fear, and so they immediately rush in to join Chen Feng, who was tanking all the attacks from the wolves. And even though it hurts, knowing that he will improve as he took damage made it exciting for Chen Feng. Still, being on the defense could only do so much, and there were only so many hits he could take, and it seemed like his limit was about to be reached as his other leg began to give out. Luckily, thanks to the efforts of his teammates, the number of wolves was decreasing. Seeing this, Chen Feng felt even more responsible to get up and keep fighting until the monster wave dissipated completely. However, Sun Yan thought otherwise. She believed Chen Feng had done enough already and asked him to leave the rest to them. But Chen Feng was unwilling, believing that if he kept standing behind them, he wouldn't grow. With just a few words, Sun Yan realized that Chen Feng was fighting a battle within himself as well, and the only thing she could do to help was to support him. So instead of insisting he rest, Sun Yan insisted they fight together. This made Chen Feng smile, as this was what he wanted, to be seen as equal among his peers. With this understanding, the fight continued. The students, charged with vigor and newfound inspiration, fought alongside Chen Feng, defending against the wolves, and together they stood united ready to face anything. A few moments later, the fight concluded with the wolves defeated and the students left exhausted. The most beaten up of them all was Chen Feng, who was sitting under a tree trying to recover. But still he felt amazing, because although enduring the beating hadn't increased his defense, he did gain a damage reduction effect. To his surprise, he also acquired a new skill, which he immediately checked out. It was named Absolute Counter Barrier, but he wasn't able to read the description as his teammates approached, as they were concerned for his well-being. And Chen Feng was speechless, not knowing what to say. It was his first time experiencing such genuine concern from others, and before he could respond, Sun Yan took a bottle from her pocket and handed it to him. As a transmigrator and a broke-ass tamer, he didn't know what it was and asked about it, to which Lin Bei excitedly explained that it was an AX7 potion, an item so expensive that he jokingly urged Chen Feng to devote his life to Sun Yan in exchange for her kind gesture. This prompted Lin Bei to get his ass handed to him by his sister for making such jokes. But now that it was clear to Chen Feng, he gratefully accepted the potion and expressed his appreciation. He really needed it, as he felt he couldn't walk anymore with the injuries he had sustained. But even before he could take the potion, Captain Yu Ying approached them with a grin, as he was delighted to see them all in high spirits, and announced that Sun Yan would lead the patrol team from here on out. They no longer had to follow him, as they had learned bravery and teamwork. So the next thing they needed to learn is to be independent and make their own judgments. To help them, he handed them a map that marked a route for them to follow. But unexpectedly, a massive roar echoed through the area, so powerful that it startled everyone. Even Captain Yu Ying was caught off guard. But despite his surprise, he remained calm, knowing that as a mentor it was essential to maintain his composure. And with this mindset, he still has the ability to calm down the students, telling them not to be nervous, assuring them that the monster they heard was already being handled by another patrol team. But his words did little to ease their worry as the sounds grew increasingly chaotic, heightening their anxiety. But so suddenly, the roar grew closer and closer. Before they knew it, the monster was almost upon them, rampaging so fiercely that even the patrol team was running for their lives. It was understandable, as one swing from the beast could easily turn them into red paste. And it was this powerful as it was a ferocious grade frosty ape, and its appearance could only mean one thing, and that the beast tide is about to begin. Thankfully, reinforcements arrived, trying to fend off the beast as much as they could. But little did they know, the frosty ape was already at level 40, allowing it to easily tank every hit. The only one who knew this was Chen Feng, and he was in total shock upon seeing this, and the fact that it was an elemental beast made things even worse. And it didn't help that they could see countless of monsters are just up ahead approaching them at a rapid rate, adding to their distress. In response, however, Captain Yu Ying shouted orders for everyone to gather around him, preparing to initiate a retreat. But before following his orders, Chen Feng regained his composure and made sure to use the potion. As soon as he fully consumed it, his injuries suddenly vanished, surprising Chen Feng with how effective the potion was. Now healed, Chen Feng asked the captain which route they should take to get back. The captain answered that they should take the route through the main gate and move quickly. With that, Captain Yu Ying called out his pet and initiated the retreat. The students tried to keep up, and it seemed they were fast enough, as Captain Yu Ying could see that no one was getting left behind. And as they ran, Chen Feng used the opportunity to check the information of the new skill he had recently obtained. To his surprise, It was actually a crowd control and damage skill, as it allowed him to taunt and take aggro from the target while returning 50% of the damage to the attacker. Additionally, it provided 70% protection against physical damage. Coupled with his passive skills, it was an incredibly powerful ability. Interestingly, its activation required him to talk trash, which added a fun twist to it. Not long after, they encountered another pack of monsters, but Captain Yu Ying's red-tailed lion was the one to welcome them with open arms, allowing the group to continue moving forward as the sooner they reached the city gate, the better. But something was bugging Su Nian, so she asked why the monsters seemed to no longer hide their presence, to which the others explained, quoting what the captain had mentioned. This was all because of a powerful beast's sudden appearance, and the fact that there were already monsters this close to the gate suggested that the situation there might not be good either. This worried them, because if that were the case, getting back to the other side of the wall would be much more difficult than they had hoped. And this was odd, prompting for Lin Xiaoxiao to ask how long it had been since the snow ape appeared. And the more meticulous member Lin Bei had counted that it was approximately 20 minutes had passed since then, which meant the real monster tide shouldn't have started yet. However, the chaos they were witnessing suggested otherwise, and this realization struck a blow to the group's morale, but Captain Yu Ying couldn't let that happen, and so he quickly encouraged them not to worry, assuring them that he wouldn't let any of the beasts get near them, and that he still had complete control of the situation. But deep down, Captain Yu Ying knew it himself that something abnormal was going on with this monster tide, but he put his worries aside, as his priority was to protect the kids at all costs. Meanwhile, in the overall setting of the tide, under the lead of the snow ape, countless flying insects swarmed through the skies, while snow leopards and wolves zoomed on the ground towards the city gates. 3 different species charging towards the gate was unexpected, and Chen Feng's group could only hide as they let the monsters pass by. Su Nian then asked Captain Yu Ying what they should do. She knew that even though these were common-grade monsters, it would be challenging for the students to handle even one, let alone so many. But Captain Yu Ying remained silent, as if he was thinking of what to do. Meanwhile, Chen Feng was looking at these monsters with his system mindset, only seeing them as an XP buffet that he could farm as much as he wanted. But he wasn't a fool. He knew that with his current level, trying to handle all these monsters at once would mean certain death. And on the side, Captain Yu Ying was still silent, which concerned the students. But in reality, the captain was just trying his best to listen to his surroundings, waiting to hear the return of his pet beast. When the red-tailed lion finally reached the mountaintop, he felt confident in dealing with the multitude of beasts. He knew his beast could handle several monsters at once, but not indefinitely. That was why they needed to move quickly once the attack started. While his pet drew the aggro, Captain Yu Ying would open the way for them, urging the group to keep up with him. With the plan explained, Captain Yu Ying and his beast charged through the countless monsters ahead. The students followed close behind, with Chen Feng leading the way. Captain Yu Ying skillfully cut a path through the chaos, ensuring that the group could advance safely toward the city gates, while the red-maned lion unleashed an area of effect attack on the side, creating a wide opening for the students. But the monsters were cunning and adapted to the circumstances, avoiding Captain Yu Ying and his pet to target the kids instead. Fortunately, having already fought common-grade monsters, the students were prepared. They easily disposed of any monsters that got close, each utilizing their pet's skills to the fullest, making every move count and dealing decisive blows. And with the students holding their ground, the lion had time to eliminate the other monsters fixated on them. Captain Yu Ying then commanded the students not to get caught up in fighting, and to continue their advance, as the gate was just a few dozen meters ahead. To their surprise, the frosty ape had also caught up, and was now in front of the gates, still rampaging and using every skill in its arsenal to break through the wall. And it showed no signs of stopping, even if its attacks killed other monsters. But the Imperial Army wouldn't sit idly by and let the monster do as it pleased, especially with General Shu still around. And without any warning, General Shu leaped from the wall and charged at the frosty ape, severing its left arm. The ape felt the pain deeply and kneeled in agony, but this was only temporary, as it revealed its ability to regenerate its limbs. While the ape was recovering, General Shu took the opportunity to join Captain Yu Ying and protect the students. This surprised Captain Yu Ying, who asked why General Shu had come down personally, which he told him to cut that shit up and just focus, as their priority was to protect the kids. And with that clear, he instructed Yu Ying to provide cover for the students as they moved to the corner of the wall, as he had ordered the ropes to be dropped upon their arrival. Captain Yu Ying quickly understood and assured General Shu that he would take care of it, and in no time, the students reached the wall and were met with ropes just as General Shu had promised. Simultaneously, the frosty ape had fully recovered from its injuries and was ready to retaliate, leaping towards General Shu with all its might. To To its surprise, General Shu wasn't planning to fight it alone. He had his own pet with him, which attacked from the
Hello,
ape's blind spot,
motherfucker.
delivering a powerful sucker punch that sent the ape stumbling back a few steps. As the students climbed to safety, Chen Feng was watching from the side in awe, realizing that General Shu's beast was actually a ferocious level 51 blue-eyed tiger. Judging by their levels, the battle seemed to be nearing its conclusion. But, even with the odds stacked against it, the frosty ape wasn't backing down. It charged at the tiger without fear, but the tiger gladly demonstrated what level gap truly means, effortlessly dodging the attack, and then proceeded to go for a backshot. On the student's side, it was now Chen Feng's turn to climb the rope. Sunyan helped him ascend faster, which he appreciated. It seemed he was the last one to come up, indicating that every student was now safe. But they couldn't let their guard down just yet, as another howl emerged from a different monster. It seems like this was the monster that had made the current tide extremely chaotic, and it is also a powerful one at that, as it had an ability to exude a violet aura that buffed the frosty ape's strength, making it even more menacing than it is. This development elevated everyone's uneasiness and worries about what this mysterious monster could be, but they didn't have to wait long. As it soon revealed itself, it was a ferocious level 42 frosty saber-tooth. Without hesitation, the saber-tooth charged at the blue-eyed tiger, but the tiger liked the odds and therefore just welcomes the new challenger head-on. But to everyone's surprise, this saber-tooth in particular is hella cunning, doing the most disrespectful ankle breaker in a split second just to get closer to the wall, instantly alarming everyone. Still, the tiger followed to prevent the saber-tooth's plans, but the ape was still present and therefore made an intervention, knocking the tiger off the wall and onto the ground. With this turn of events, the saber-tooth successfully breached the walls. Even General Shu was surprised by this sudden development, but he couldn't help as the ape was pressing them hard, and so the saber-tooth rampaged freely on top of the walls. Its roar alone paralyzed the soldiers of the Imperial Army, and therefore quickly disposed them on sight, leaving a trail of destruction. And this sight sent shivers down the students' spines. Yesterday, they were just normal students, and now they were witnessing countless lives being taken before their eyes. Despite this, Sunyan tried to be brave, telling Chen Feng that everything would be all right, but her eyes betrayed her as tears appear. With this, Chen Feng realized that now was not the time to be a coward. He needed to lock in and protect his friends. If he didn't, Sunyan and the others would be torn to shreds. With this realization, Chen Feng decided to act as a bait to buy the others some time to escape. He activated his new skill, Absolute Defense, and mocked the saber-tooth, taunting the beast in front of him. This completely surprised Sun Yan, while the saber-tooth was affected by Chen Feng's taunt, and attacked him without hesitation, biting onto the barrier with all its might. The force was so powerful that it shattered the barrier within seconds, but, due to the skill's effect, 50% of the damage was reflected back, knocking the saber-tooth back as well. And Chen Feng's teammates were in shock. Receiving a head-on attack from such a powerful beast was no small feat, and they worried about his condition, and therefore rushed to his aid. But Chen Feng had already made up his mind. He knew that 5 seconds wouldn't be enough for them to escape from this monster, and so he urged them to go and save themselves. And Sun Yan immediately contested this, but the more rational siblings convinced her to do as Chen Feng asked. Despite her unwillingness, Sun Yan knew that staying would only burden Chen Feng and endanger the others, making his sacrifice worthless. With this, she took a moment to look at Chen Feng before leaving with the others. Now that he could see the others run away, Chen Feng braced himself, hoping that his absolute defense would be enough to block the saber-tooth's attacks and buy time for reinforcements to arrive. But it seemed he would be waiting for a while, as the army was preoccupied dealing with countless flying insects trying to breach the wall. A few seconds later, recovering from the stun, the frosty saber-tooth emitted a purple glow, buffing itself and enlarging its physical body. With the sudden turn of events, Chen Feng looked at his turtle bro, as if apologizing for putting him through this, but there was nothing they could do now, as the saber-tooth charged in for the kill, and Chen Feng tried to block it again. But the beast's power had doubled, completely shattering his barrier in an instant, and despite receiving 50% of its own damage, the saber-tooth stood strong, its durability seemingly improved. In contrast, Chen Feng's life was depleting with every strike, the only benefit being that the target was stunned for 5 seconds. At the same time, the situation in front of the wall was also changing, as the frosty ape is now getting his ass beat up left and right, and with the opening they had made, they both detached its arm from its body. But they won't be stopping there, as the tiger used its special move to beam the ape's heart out of existence. And if that's not enough, General Shu went out to make sure this beast shuts up for good, plunging his spear deep into the ape's body, and with the snow ape defeated, the monster wave the ape led began to falter, giving the Imperial Army the upper hand. But the other boss, The frosty saber-tooth was still alive and ready to fight, and since it was too cunning for its own well-being, some Maharaga-type shit was going on, as it was now trying to adapt itself to Chen Feng's absolute skill, and therefore unlocked a new ability that allows it to use its ice power to create an armor and wrap it around its body. And with this, it was now up and ready to take on Chen Feng, while Chen Feng is just completely tired and barely standing. Nonetheless, he activated his absolute defense to meet the beast halfway. Even his pet braced for impact, knowing this was a completely different challenge. And as expected, Chen Feng's barrier shattered, and the saber-tooth received 50% damage. But with its ice armor, the monster negated some of the damage and the stun duration was drastically shortened. With this, the saber-tooth quickly regained its ability to attack Chen Feng, and seeing it so close, Chen Feng knew it was over. He hadn't even gotten back up yet, but this bitch was all up in arms to devour him already. But just when all hope seemed lost, a powerful tamer arrived to aid Chen Feng. Accompanied by a formidable beast, the tamer issued a command, and the electric-type lion charged up its skill. In an instant, lightning soared through the skies and descended upon the saber-tooth, completely halting its advance and shattering its entire defense. And the impact was so intense that cracks of lightning appeared in the saber-tooth's eyes, breaking apart its insides. And the next thing they knew, the beast was a charred barbecue. And with this decisive intervention, the tide of the battle had finally ended. In the previous chapter, Chen Feng and his crew battled the wolves and through teamwork, successfully defeated them. And they were ready to learn the next step to become great tamers. But to their surprise, something unexpected happened. A strong beast appeared, rampaging through the lands and initiating a beast tide. With this, the team made an untimely retreat, heading to the top of the walls. But as they reached the top, another powerful beast appeared, and quickly climbed up to where Chen Feng and the others were resting. And unfortunately, everyone was occupied with their own battles, and so Chen Feng had no choice but to make himself a bait to ensure his friends could escape safely. And thanks to his newfound skill, the absolute counter barrier, he managed to buy enough time for a strong tamer to arrive, and eliminate the beasts with one powerful attack. Now on to the next part. Now that the beast had been cooked, Chen Feng was still in shock at the sight before him. Moments ago, this beast was mighty and relentless, attacking him with a ferocity that left him struggling to defend himself. But now it lay lifeless across from him, defeated with a single move. Such a feat could only be accomplished by a true expert. Chen Feng turned towards the source of the attack and saw an old man standing atop the wall with his pet. Curiosity piqued. He wondered who this mysterious tamer was. His question was soon answered by the commotion among the soldiers, who were in shock to see General Chu Nantian on the front lines with his Thunder Lion. Chen Feng quickly realized that this beast was incredibly powerful, already at the Void Crystal rank. Despite the awe-inspiring sight, Chen Feng was too exhausted to care. He couldn't believe why these powerful individuals always seemed to show up at the last minute, as if they were in some kind of movie. He would have appreciated their timely intervention, considering he had nearly lost his life. And so, even as the system popped up a new notification, Chen Feng ignored it, too drained to pay attention. All he wanted was a moment to rest after everything he had been through. The exhaustion and relief washed over him, making it difficult to process anything other than the fact that he had survived. In the meantime, the sun had risen, signifying the dawn of a new day. With the deaths of the two fierce beasts, the monsters finally began to retreat. Victory was on the side of the humans, at least for now, and Chunin could say that much of this success could be attributed to one unexpected individual, the boy lying on top of the wall. And so he observed Chen Feng, pondering how this peculiar student managed to survive. And based on Chen Feng's pet, there were two possibilities he considered. Either the turtle was much stronger than it appeared, or it had unlocked a special ability during the battle. Whichever was true, it was clear that the boy and his pet formed a formidable tank, capable of withstanding multiple attacks from a beast far stronger than themselves. This impressive feat left a lasting impression on the general. Suddenly, Sun Yan and the others barged in through the door, worried about Chen Feng's condition. This prompted Chen Feng to try to sit up to ease their worry, but his friends couldn't help themselves and embraced him, relieved to see he was still alive. Comically, this caused him to spit out blood due to his injuries, but they didn't notice as they were in tears, apologizing for being so powerless and unable to provide much help. Nonetheless, Chen Feng smiled, happy that they cared so much about him. He reassured them that he was all right, even though it was clear he was in a beat-up state. Still, Sun Yan can't help herself but tremble, as she felt annoyed with herself for letting such a thing happen to him. But getting caught up with this frustration wouldn't help Chen Feng recover, and so she set aside her feelings and was about to call the doctor. But before she could, General Chu Nantian unexpectedly appeared, prompting them all to bow in respect. Then Chu Nantian took something out of his pocket, a potion to help Chen Feng recover from his injuries, which Chen Feng was grateful. But according to Lin Bei, he has to be more thankful than that, as this potion isn't simple. It was the TR enhancement potion that had just hit the market, a very rare and expensive item. This remark earned Lin Bei another scolding from his sister for making such stupid comments. In the end, Chen Feng drank the potion and was amazed by its effects. Lin Bei's reaction hadn't been exaggerated. This potion worked faster than the AX7 potion, and even his pet felt invigorated. With his condition rapidly improving, General Chu Nantian approached him and asked if he wanted to become a frontline warrior in the Northern District. This offer surprised everyone. Even the soldiers couldn't contain their excitement, as being personally invited by an official was a significant honor. But being invited by General Chu Nantian himself, one of the 12 famous generals of the Eastern Alliance, was even better. The 12 brave generals were the stalwart protectors of the Eastern Alliance, ensuring that monsters never breached the sturdy walls. This personal invitation indicated that Chen Feng was truly exceptional. But Chen Feng wasn't used to being the center of attention, making the situation somewhat awkward for him. Despite this, he knew he couldn't let his feelings hinder his future, and judging by everyone's reaction, General Chu Nan was very important, so Chen Feng seriously considered the offer. But living in the military would mean facing monsters every day, and confronting monster waves head-on was a hardship he would rather avoid, especially when his main skill was absolute defense. Nonetheless, the opportunity was too significant to dismiss without careful thought. After thinking it thoroughly, Chen Feng approached General Chu Nan and expressed how honored he was to receive the invitation, but he had to respectfully decline for now. Understanding and considerate, General Chu Nan didn't press for an explanation. Instead, he just leaped from the walls back to the battlefield, where he sees that his soldiers were still struggling to finish off the remaining monsters trying to escape, and so he swiftly helped them, electrocuting everything in sight, and it might have seemed like he was venting frustration over Chen Feng's decision, but in reality, he just wanted to wrap things up efficiently, as he was a busy man after all. Once the battlefield was under control, General Chu Nan asked General Shu about the extent of the damage from the current wave, and General Shu was pleased to report that they were fortunate this time. Compared to previous waves, the casualty count was relatively low, and he attributed this success to the student named Chen Feng, stating that without him the casualties would have been much worse. And General Chu Nan agrees with that statement, acknowledging Chen Feng as a promising talent. However, he understood that having him under his command wasn't possible for now. With this, General Shu realized that Chen Feng must be quite special to attract Chu Nan's attention, in which Chu Nan explained that Chen Feng ain't ordinary, as he saw the pet he was with, which seemed pretty ordinary, an ornamental beast at best. Despite this, Chen Feng had single-handedly withstood the saber-tooth's attack, a remarkable feat, and having Chen Feng would definitely strengthen the fortress, signaling the emergence of another rising star in the Eastern Alliance. However, there was also a growing concern. The frequency of monster waves was increasing. This meant they needed to be more vigilant and get all the help they could get, especially as it felt like the calm before the storm. Additionally, some elders within the Alliance had been complaining lately about specific forbidden areas, labeling them as problematic. This added another layer of complexity to their preparations and strategies. The generals knew they had to address these concerns. Meanwhile, Lin Bei asked Chen Feng what was going through his mind when he refused General Chu Nantian's offer, and his sister shared the same curiosity. As General Chu Nan held a prominent position in the alliance, even Su Nian questioned Chen Feng, noting that her family also held General Chu Nan in great respect. Seeing their curiosity, Chen Feng explained his reasons. He declined the offer because his pet was very small and of ornamental grade. He worried that they wouldn't be able to withstand the harsh environment, and he will only return once they are ready. But his friends believed he was strong enough now, and urged him to reconsider the opportunity. Despite their encouragement, Chen Feng had already made up his mind and wasn't going to change it. Luckily for him, Captain Yu Ying appeared to check on them, asking if they were okay. Everyone sighed, realizing he was a bit late, but Chen Feng was glad the topic had changed. The focus shifted, allowing him some relief from their questions. Lin Bei then jokingly accused Captain Yu Ying of slacking off, as he was in front of them instead of clearing out the monster wave. This prompted his sister to scold him once again for making such jokes, but Captain Yu Ying didn't mind, as he was more glad to see that they were safe. He also informed them that General Shu was waiting for them. In no time, they met up with General Shu. Instead of congratulating the students, he shared a harsh truth. Over 300 lives had perished. They had fought bravely, but the cost was heavy. This revelation brought the students back to the harsh reality of the world they lived in. Seeing their reactions, General Shu concluded that they were not yet ready to face such harsh realities, and so he ordered them to leave for now, and return when they had the resolve to face war and its aftermath. As he finished speaking, a large spirit bird descended right on cue, while their teacher was waiting for them on top, and so the students climbed a ladder to board the bird. As they ascended, Chen Feng experienced a moment of realization. When he first arrived, he didn't care about anything and just wanted to live as carefree as possible. But now, after making connections with others and witnessing it firsthand, that he and his little pet beast can do some miraculous things, everything had changed. With this change, Chen Feng decided to improve as much and as quickly as he could. But before that, he needed a good night's rest to face future challenges at full capacity. As the next day arrived, Chen Feng and his pet rose from bed in a clumsy manner, still feeling the burden of their last fight. Despite this, he made sure to get ready, and so he got up and take any food that's available in their apartment and eat it with his pet beast. While eating, Chen Feng looked at his cute little turtle, marveling at how awesome it was despite its small size, and so he decided that it was the best time to naming it Kangxi. This signified its importance as his own little turtle bro. The turtle seemed to like the name, as its eyes sparkling with approval. With that settled, Chen Feng remembered that the system had some notifications. He checked them and saw that his turtle had leveled up to 6, which was impressive considering only 1 day had passed. The question now was how to continue leveling up. He couldn't just go back to the northern walls. Suddenly, an idea came to mind. A few moments later, Chen Feng found himself inside the Alliance City Library, and he was fortunate enough to find some rare books about spirit turtles. This expanded his knowledge on how to increase his pet's level. However, all the information pointed to the same conclusion. He needed to face challenges from monsters or pets of the same level or higher. He was confident in this information, as defeating higher-level monsters before had helped him and his pet reach level 6 quickly. But this info is not enough, as he still needed to find a suitable place to level up his pet. As his mind was occupied, Turtle Bro noticed something peculiar inside the book Chen Feng was reading, prompting it to take it out, revealing to be a flyer of some sorts, which made Chen Feng delighted, as this was the perfect place for them to start their journey. The next day, at the Alliance City Center, rain poured non-stop, while Chen Feng was dressed in a new drip, as he tries his best to avoid recognition to protect Turtle Bro from the cunning pet thieves in the black market. He remained on high alert and made sure to stay vigilant. Knowing that his achievements in the Northern District had been publicized, after a few more steps, he arrived at the front of the Alliance Adventurer Association and entered the bustling establishment. This place was full of people and renowned for being a gathering spot for formidable hunters, as it was not only a place to become stronger, but also a place to obtain valuable resources for trainers. Chen Feng went straight to the receptionist, who greeted him with a smile and introduced herself as Nana. But my boy Chen Feng is just on a whole nother level. He may not have the best spirit level, but he made sure to max out his charisma, making the receptionist fall for him at first glance even with a mask on. And with this, joining the association went smoothly. He presented his ID, and Nana quickly filed his application. But then she gasps as if she saw a ghost. She was shocked to see that this handsome guy only had a level 6 little turtle as his spirit beast, and everyone who heard this laughed hysterically, unable to believe someone that weak would join the association. And Chen Feng found this rude, and asked Nana if there was any problem, to which she clarified that there was none, just that it was unusual. With that, they proceeded with the application process, which required him to show his pet. And so Chen Feng placed Turtle Bro in front of Nana, who inspected it intently from all angles. After her examination, she concluded that he was qualified and handed him a form with terms and conditions to sign. Chen Feng signed it without hesitation, as no one really reads those anyway. With his application complete, he was given an identity badge and the code name Frost Shadow, which he could use to access their website. Additionally, he is now able to check missions on the mission board, which offers different rewards, provided his pet met the level requirements. This excites the two as they can officially start their journey to become stronger, and so they were immediately fired up to get a new mission as fast as possible. But it seems like they caught the attention of a mysterious robed figure who revealed a grin. Finding Chen Feng and his pet interesting, is he a friend or a foe? His intentions remained unknown, but that would be on the later chapters, and so stay tuned for the next part to find out more.